that America was devil and tarnishing their children. But from an outside perspective, you can't really blame the children for wanting to fit in throughout adolescence. It's just easier. I mean, puberty is hard enough as it is, and when you don't fit in with people and you're bullied and discriminated against, it makes life 10 times harder. So the kids just wanted to do what the Americans do. I mean, they were American. They were born in America, and that was something that the parents just didn't understand. They didn't understand why the kids were rebelling against them in the type of way by wanting to wear different types of clothing and eat different types of food. It was disrespectful. This picture shows an example of what the typical Italian woman would wear, the first generation Italian woman. And it's an outfit that is very dark, and it covers up a lot of the skin, and it just doesn't look very approachable. And so think about it. If you're a kid and you're still learning life and you see that someone's wearing clothing that's not the same as yours and your friends, of course you're going to treat them differently because you're a kid and you don't know any better. And this is an example of what the typical American child would wear. Their clothing is remarkably different. It's lighter and it's a little more stylish, I guess, freer, and it shows a lot more skin, clearly. And it's a legitimate reason why the Italian child would want to dress more like an American, because it's a very big difference in clothing. So although the second generation Italian American children decided to drop a few things that was part of their tradition, they still kept their family values and their religion, and of course the food that they ate, although that they had to hide what they ate at school just to fit in. But that was part of becoming Americanized, and that's how a huge part of how Italian Americans became American. Children were not the only subjects to be racially discriminated against. The adults and parents of those children were as well. In the articles above, it explains how Italian immigrants were discriminated against because of the language they spoke. They were stating that they spoke the enemy's language. There's other articles that are convincing people not to hire the Italians because we can't trust them, and that they're just going to backstab us in types of ways because we just don't understand them. We don't know them. In the 1890 to 1920 period, Italian Americans were often stereotyped as being violent and controlled by the mafia. In the 1920s, many Americans used the Sacco and Vanzetti trial, in which two Italian anarchists were wrongly sentenced to death, to denounce Italian immigrants as anarchists and criminals. During the 1800s and early 20th century, Italian Americans were one of the most likely groups to be lynched. In 1891, 11 immigrants in New Orleans